Okay, excellent. Well, I think we've got, quite a few with us now and a few more that may join sort of as we get going. So welcome again to everyone who's with us this afternoon, this evening, or this much later evening, depending on where you are. My name is Harriet Wenberg, and I'm the Executive Director of INTBAU, which is a global network dedicated to creating better places to live through traditional building, architecture, and urbanism. I'm just going to give you a very brief background on INTBAU before handing over to Biniam Hailu, who is the chapter chair for INTBAU Ethiopia, which we're all gathered to launch today, and also to his colleague Mina Abdo, who's also working on the chapter, and of course our speaker, Tadesse Girmay. So INTBAU was founded about 20 years ago, nearly 20 years ago, in 2001, and started having chapters form in 2005 to be part of the network. And it's grown from the first few chapters now to being 35 chapters in different countries all around the world. And we are really thrilled that Ethiopia is joining the network as one of those, such, incredible architectural traditions and ways of making and designing to have represented in the network is a really wonderful thing. So hoping that the Ethiopia chapter will gain a lot from being in the network, but absolutely certain that the network will gain a lot from having INTBAU Ethiopia as part of it. For those of you that aren't yet members, you can join completely for free, and my colleague Juliet will be sharing some details on how you can join and get more involved at the end. In normal years, so non-pandemic years, we would run workshops, summer schools, conferences, other courses throughout the year in countries all around the world. So lots of opportunities to get involved and to learn, to teach, to join in. So it's really a pleasure. A silver lining of the pandemic has been holding these online series of talks, and this is a great next edition in our autumn series. And very, very pleased now to welcome Biniam Hailu to tell you a bit more about the INTBAU Ethiopia chapter and to introduce this evening's speaker, Tadesse Girmay. Biniam.
Thank you, Harriet. My name is Biniam, and I'm an architect from Ethiopia and chair of the newly established chapter INTBAU Ethiopia. First of all, I would like to say that I'm really happy, and I would like to thank all of you for joining us from all around the world on our very first launching webinar. I would also like to say thank you for Harriet and Juliet for making INTBAU Ethiopia become one of the chapters to join the 30+ network and for their help throughout the process. And also for my team, Said, Jonathan, and Mina, who's been all the way through with me on this journey. Our motivation for establishing this chapter is to initiate critical discussion and conduct research about the various traditional architectural practices that are found across Ethiopia. It is also to later initiate and engage in demonstrative projects which are informed by tradition. We believe that it is important at this very moment in time because the country is rapidly urbanizing and there is significant rural-urban transformation. But in this process, the role of tradition and homegrown practices are not given that much attention. So INTBAU Ethiopia is set out to negotiate a space as well as advocate for tradition in our current transformation of the built environment. And in order to do that, we first intend to build our network both locally and globally. And this launching webinar is such an attempt of which many would follow. Having said that, I would like to thank on behalf of everyone here, our presenter for today, Tadesse Girmay. Tadesse is a practicing architect, archaeologist, and an educator from Ethiopia. His talk for today would be titled "Transforming the Vernacular," would be on the time-tested traditional architecture and building practice of Ethiopia, traversing between the past and present. He will discuss the relevance of transforming these practices to meet our current needs and future ones. So over to you, Tadesse.
Good. Hello. Where is my screen? Okay. This is Tadesse Girmay from Chair of Conservation at the IABC. And my title of presentation is Transforming the Vernacular, Past, Present, and Future. So whenever people hear about Ethiopia, what's coming in the mind usually is structures describing the elites, the earliest structures without mortar, for example, the Temple of Yeha, the giant steles at Aksum, the rock churches elsewhere in Tigray and Lasta, elegant masonry structures in and around Gondar, castles, and festivities that are lively, most known being Mescal, the true finding of the cross. These are what are coming into the minds of people when thinking about Ethiopia. However, there are also other important issues representing the 80 plus different cultures and their dwellings of the country, which I am going to deal with in my lecture today. These are the vernacular houses of the ordinary people. So to introduce, vernacular architecture has the tendency to evolve over time to reflect the environmental, cultural, technological, economic, and historical contexts in which it exists. These are the motivational factors for the vernacular. So generally speaking, the vernacular is very close to nature. As an example, we can see two opposite environmental conditions, the highland and the lowland environments. The highland being a colder environment, thatch roof housing, pitch roof, and wood and bamboo are some materials that are available and to be used in the construction. And as to the lowland, which is a hot environment, and there is limited resource, as you can see, and so there should be flexibility of materials, and construction technique should be based on very lightness of the overall. So some of the objectives for this presentation could be emphasis to indigenous knowledge in architecture and the construction industry, and to show the vernacular is not developed overnight and so cannot be abandoned easily. And transformation is important for survival, just to get better off, and even to influence others if words acceptable, and to indicate the advantages of transformation in addressing far more issues of housing over the course of time, and for rural community empowerment, and to minimize human labor. So the justification of this is, in the distant past, there was communication barriers. And so people of the world were least communicating because there was no flight, no telecom, and it is total isolation. So influence and knowledge transfer from one continent to another was relatively minimal, at least it takes time. As such, there was local solutions to local problems. Indigenous knowledge had to develop independently well to solve problems far better. Communities were good at expressing themselves, context, because they know what's at stake, and everything was more or less indigenous, self-sufficient, and independent. Today, in the last 3 to 4 decades, corrugated iron sheet roofing houses are seen to emerge at the expense of the indigenous, the vernacular. You can see in these pictures on the left how the vernacular houses of the Konso are blending into the landscape. The harmony with nature is impressive. But later on, in the past 3 to 4 decades, corrugated sheet roof houses are emerging, and they are, if you see in the right picture, they are duplicating them to the extent that we see these roofs than the landscape. So these are expanding at high speed in all directions, but they are least responsive environmentally, visually, culturally, and even economically. We see them in all environmental conditions in Ethiopia that couldn't fit in either of the contexts. So the question is, why then? Why are we using them? The world today is too small, like a village in terms of communication, where the stronger, the rich dominates and influences the weaker. So everything might be dumped in poor countries by resources, materials from the other world. So why are the corrugated iron sheet roofing houses more preferred to the vernacular? Is because there is ease of construction, ease of maintenance, distorted culture politics. That means having a corrugated iron sheet roofed house is a symbol of wealth, superiority. But will the corrugated iron sheet houses really be preferable if all the drawbacks that we see in the vernacular could be addressed? I don't think so. Look at this vernacular. In this community, as you might see, everything is woven. The people are weaving their clothes, their houses, fences, everything they have. The vernacular is too green to be transformed positively as such, because if you consider the material, bamboo is easy to harvest, and cutting bamboo is afforestation, because a species of bamboo will die after 7 years if not cut, but it will mature in 3 to 4 years for construction. So when we cut at the age of 3 and 4, we can use it for construction. At the same time, we are allowing regeneration. And bamboo is also biodegradable, and most vernacular materials are biodegradable. And there will be job opportunities to the locals whenever we build locally. And indigenous knowledge sharing and upgrading will be there. And above all, no foreign currency demand by the country, which is a huge issue was discussed. So what are the limitations with vernacular? With the vernacular and the need for transformation is, one is lack of flexibility. So culture matters. And when population grows, there will be scarce land resource and limitation in vertical development. That means structural limitations, the span issue, and focus is more on basic needs only, lacks comfort in terms of light, ventilation, so it has its own reason. For example, in the houses of the Dorze and the Sidamas, for example, there are no big windows, and the idea is because of the environment, the smoke will repel reptiles from coming into the house. And as to the relevance of the transformation of the vernacular, everybody knows that identity is important and it's acceptable by many in the past, today, and even probably in the future. And sustainability could be achieved if the vernacular is transformed beyond the basic needs: comfort, flexibility, ease of maintenance, etc. And so reconciling between the past traditional and the current and future pragmatic and extra demand is necessary. So The advantages of the transformation will be one, modularization. Modularization helps in standardization to easily assemble units or modules, and ease of maintenance by replacement of modules, which makes it economical and easy. And the culture context helps community to prefer the vernacular from the emerging corrugated iron sheet roofing. And tourism is also an important concept. People travel to experience new culture, environment, which is an adventure, and exhibition of the culture to the world, which means persuading through culture, cultural diplomacy, and influencing the other world, exporting culture and technology. Why not? The stronger the dominant approach, which supports the local economy highly. And more opportunities to indigenous knowledge is also important. Above all, these vernacular materials are environmentally friendly with no carbon emission and limitless space possibilities, which helps in trying other possibilities by increasing size of the structures while maintaining tradition. So coming to the projects we had, it is a transformation of the Dorze and Sidama vernacular, which are more or less similar in context. And the concept for this project is a modern and better house for rural community that maintains the ancient local traditions of working with bamboo and other natural materials, but offers higher standards of hygiene and comfort. This will also rescue the dying out of the traditional skills. So, as you can see, this worker house is to be produced in a modular way. You can see how it can be, the materials can be condensed, transported to the site, and it can be assembled and ready for service. And the inspiration for this is local materials, local techniques, water harvesting techniques from the ancient world, the tree, the plants, and local skills. So as to the components of this worker house, you can see there is a canopy at the top. There is also a roof, which is perforated mesh blocking the entrance of flying objects into the collector. There is antenna, which is a thin bamboo stick with sun and moonlight reflective kits. And there is a topping, which is a decorative part holding antenna, lattice framework, which is out of bamboo, textile wall, water collector, flooring out of bamboo, cables from the fibers of false banana, and there is a water well at the bottom where water can be collected, rainwater can be stored, and there is a stone base which can protect the house from easily rotting. And as a case study, we have seen the different vernaculars in the country, and we have found that all of them are sustainable, and in terms of durability, they are also durable as compared to the corrugated iron sheet roofing. But what lacks is hygiene, affordability, and the absence of foundation. So in this project, what we have done is to try to fulfill these issues of hygiene, affordability, and foundation on top of the existing sustainable and durable vernacular. And you can see how the overall innovation can blend easily into the landscape in harmony with nature and tradition. And this is how it looks when it is assembled. This is a 3D rendering. And this is a planning of the settlement, because planning is important, but already the vernaculars know how to form their compound, their settlement. So it is, an adaptation. And this is a section of the worker house, how it functions. And the other is a worker tower, which is a tower that harvests water from the air, from fog and dew. So it is about around 14 meters in height, but it is out of modular baskets that can be easily transported like in the image, and can be easily assembled by few people only, maybe member of the families. And the advantage of this worker tower is that there is a shortage of potable water in most communities in the third world. So even if there are sources around, but they are not clean. So work at our helps in harvesting, collecting, filtering, and serving water to the community. Besides, children can play under the shade of the canopy outside, and students of rural communities where there is no electricity can use solar power and study under the canopies. And above all, it is sustainable and biodegradable, so it can be decomposed. And this is a progress development while we are about to realize. So coming to the conclusion, developed from nature and evolving through time, the vernacular is worth preserving by transforming it to the high varying demand of the human being in the course of time. Culture prevails. And as a recommendation, it is good to respect to the culture of a given society and environment. Consideration of the different potentials and availability of resources is important, allowing participation of local communities, which are the stakeholders, the primary stakeholders, are important, and successive evaluation of experiments is good for the best outcome. So in this project, there are a lot of people who gave hand, participated. I would like to thank the worker team from my university, IABC, and Arturo Vittori, the Worker Water Project Manager from Italy, the Dorze community, and the following architects. I thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tadesse, for that presentation. On that note, someone asked, Yodit asked, how much does it cost to construct a worker house? Is there federal funding available to facilitate evolving and constructing cultural homes? So if you could elaborate more on that, please, before.
Okay, good. So normally it was a pilot project. So as an initial, it was not that much easy, but now to tell you the fact, it might take like some $4,000 to $5,000 all over, because it was a long project. There are students. We have to travel from Addis, some 500 kilometers away, and we have to settle in hotels. So what is costly is the logistics. But as to the work itself, most materials are local, and the labor force is also local. They are around, so it's very cheap. But when it is mass produced, it will cost a maximum of around, $1,000. And it can be assembled within a few hours, and it can be disassembled, and can be transported to other areas. And the weight is not more than 60 to 70 kilograms, in which a donkey can transport it easily.
Yoki, has that answered your question? If not, please don't hesitate to ask more. Also, we have another question from Biniam, who's asking, how do you think it is possible to shift negative public and institutional perception and around traditional buildings? And is it only a question of technique?
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
He asked, how is it possible to shift the negative public perception around like traditional buildings for the future? How can we shift their perspective?
Okay, you mean to change the idea of people?
Yes, to lead them into using more traditional construction methods.
Yeah, so basically, the technique is there in the society. We only learn from the society. And as architects, we transform it by design and try to solve the problems. But as far as we make it simple, as far as we make it flexible, and as far as we solve all the problems, the so-called comfort, then they will definitely accept it. Even the societies there make a big feast while we were inaugurating the project because they were very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the nature of Ethiopian people. That's very true. On that note, Yodit also wanted to know if there are any modern features in this Warka project.
Yes. With this transforming into something contemporary is because it is the demand of the time, because we have to transform this vernacular tradition into towns as well, because there are also a lot of problems in our towns. We can transform this vernacular into modern structures because it's not new that bamboo is used or local materials are used everywhere for different projects apart from dwellings. So, that is why we are making it more modern.
Okay. So you're saying there is a possibility or there are options to make it more modern as per the society's choosing.
Sure. What is important is not to bypass the tradition, rather to enhance the tradition in a way to solve problems only. The culture dimension has to be kept as much as possible, and we transform it in a designerly way, in an architect's way.
Okay. Another question from Nardos is, let me read that out to you. In the time where vertical densification is being promoted due to lack of space, how does this idea respond and work to address the future lack of building spaces? Because, 2-story, 3-story residential buildings are very common, and how does this project fit in there?
Normally, as recent studies show, bamboo has tensile strengths of about 60 to 70% of steel. That means it is very strong, very tense. So there is this possibility of, using bamboo in vertical construction as well. There are also, sometimes when we transform structures, we might use some, conjugate structures, but bamboo by itself is also strong, and there is that possibility. Even for a longer span, we are trying to, to produce modules with some connections, and I think it's possible. Partitions of bamboo, woven bamboo are also very interesting to see, so it's possible.
Okay, so just one last question. I think people would like you to elaborate more on the durability of the bamboo and the house, because we have gotten like 3 or 4 questions about that. So if you can describe that a bit more, and then I think we can end this webinar on that note.
Okay, so like I said, bamboo has good tensile strengths, 1 point. Another issue is the problem with bamboo is there is starch in the cane. the inside part of bamboo, there is a starch, but the outer cover is well enameled so that it will not be rotten easily. So to avoid this issue of termite attack, there is a chemical that can be used like borax. Probably it's chemical, so it needs some experiment to avoid the side effect of this chemical. But by killing the starch, we can, avoid termite attacks so that it can be, more strong.
Okay. So, Matrix, I hope that answers your question. If you treat it inside the starch part of the bamboo, it is much more durable. And also, I hope that answers some of your questions as well. Another question from Dimian, he said that you're speaking about transforming and standardizing and mass production. So does this notion contradict with vernacular approach of localized production, which are specifically tailored to the context within a certain area?
Well, actually, what matters is the space design, the form, the approach, the use of materials. But as to thinking of modularization, what is good for the society is once modularization is applied, it makes labor, the society will be benefited because they don't waste energy. Even normally when a house is built, neighbors will come to help. But in this case, when it is designed in terms of modules, the single family can build their own house easily. And when problems come, when the house is getting old, it can easily be maintained by just simply taking a module. And as far as there is this effect of termites, where the termites attack at the base, the house gets down. Finally, when the height shrinks, they use it for storage purpose. But by doing this technique of modularization, they won't waste energy. Instead, they can easily, maintain. But the overall technique, space, the tradition will be kept as much as possible.
So we have two more questions. One from Kibir Asfa, who is asking, can you persuade the native people to choose this construction and the process on how to convince them about it?
Pardon. I didn't hear it, please.
He asked, can you persuade the native people to choose to construct the pilot project over the usual method of construction?
Yes, of course. That's why we succeeded in realizing the project. By the way, this project has been nominated in the Aga Khan Award list out of some 300 projects. And we come into the last 20, and we failed to come to the finalists because of the coming of the new government in Ethiopia. There was some clashes here and there, and we didn't go to the place to keep the vernacular, the structures that we did, so that it collapsed because of animals coming here and there, and because it didn't stay longer for evaluation, we failed to win. But basically, it's because we have persuaded the society that they collaborate us to reach to that point. And it has been hosted by National Geographic.
Okay. And
for
lastly,
the success.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Kibir. And lastly, Robin asked, how is the Warka House project accommodating the fast-changing towns in rural areas?
Once more, please. Sorry.
How is the Warka House project accommodating the fast-changing towns and in the rural areas?
Yes,
Because they're more going towards the corrugated iron sheet buildings that you showed earlier in your presentation. So how can the Warka House project be more accommodating to that?
Yeah, as to this poor society, the durability of the vernacular has no question, but it is costly relatively as compared to the corrugated iron sheet. But with this worker house technique, because everything can be found there and it can be produced easily without the need of an expert, people can easily build, people can easily dismantle and transport it. So if this is possible, then they can even, take it like a tent, So the demand for this housing by the ever-increasing population becomes solved because we can easily construct and assemble worker, and even we can make a mass production so that everybody can buy. Oh, please give me one worker house. You can say like that. You can, order a worker house. That means, but the society, because there is also training, they can build by themselves easily because we also have learned from the community.
So that is the last of our questions. And for those of you who want more detail, I have typed in the link, the address to more detail on the Warka project. So you can look it up there. And I'm going to pass it on to Juliet for any more comments you have.
Thank you, Mina. I just want to check my mic's back up and running. Can everyone hear me okay? Great.
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to share some slides now to let you all know how you can get more involved with this new chapter. So bear with me 1 second. I'll just get these up. Okay, so for those of you that haven't been to our website already, we are at intbau.org, and you can find the INTBAU Ethiopia Chapter page. If you go into the Explore menu, and you'll see this arrow here pointing to chapters, and you can explore all 35 of our chapters, or just look at the INTBAU Ethiopia page, or you'll find the contact details for Biniam and the email address to get more information from him. On to the next slide here, we've got details about how you can sign up to become a general member of INTBAU, but also a direct member of the chapter in Ethiopia. So if you go to the membership page and sign up, you'll become an INTBAU member. You'll also get a monthly newsletter, which will have details about all the upcoming initiatives and talks that we put on. And this is completely free as well, so I'd really recommend that you all do this. And of course, social media, we have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And INTBAU Ethiopia, I'm really thrilled. I've got their own Facebook and their own Instagram page. And you can follow them with the handle at INTBAU Ethiopia. We are at INTBAU on all platforms. So all that remains for me really to do is to thank everyone for joining today. Thank you to Tadesse and to Biniam and to Mina and Harriet especially. So thanks very much everyone, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tadesse, Mina, Biniam, Jules. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.